What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. We are back with myself, Huzaifa, and Justin Guitar Hero James on the other side. And we got some fun stuff going on, even though the UFC is on a little bit of a hiatus. We got no UFC fights for 6 weeks, but the entertainment is going strong, at least this weekend. That's for sure. And what we got going on today is a big event. We have got Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua live on Netflix. Apparently, the main event goes down. I think there's like some noise in the background, Justin. I don't know if you can.
My son's washing dishes.
Okay, so we got this fight. Apparently, I believe is at 7 p.m. PST tonight. I have to double check that because I almost don't even believe it. That's too good to be true. I thought I was gonna have to wait until way later. Hold on, Anthony Joshua start time. Main event. Justin made a video about it. I made a video about it. I'm gonna make another video about it. Oh yes, 7:30 p.m. PST. That's lit. So the fight's gonna be happening pretty soon. Justin, you know what the odds are for this fight?
You know what? Maybe minus 1,400.
Minus 1,300, I believe. For
Anthony. That was a pretty good guess.
What do you think it is for Jake Paul? Plus what?
Plus 750.
Yeah, it's plus 700. So I actually put money on Jake Paul earlier in the week. I didn't let you know about it, but just a small amount, nothing crazy because it is plus 700. But we'll see. But you know, it's interesting. I listened to Justin's video earlier today. You guys should definitely check it out. He breaks down the entire fight and gives his opinion. It's pretty cool. But you know, you said it could be the greatest upset in the history of like combat sports, which I do think it will be in so many ways. However, you know, I think back to like Dakota Ditcheva versus Inaba, for example. The odds were more in favor of Dakota Ditcheva than Anthony Joshua. So I just wanted to know from your perspective here. Let me put up the first banner because we're obviously jumping right into Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. From your standpoint, like, do you think Jake Paul has more of a chance to beat Anthony Joshua than Amiko? I think her name was Samiko Inaba or something to fight Dakota Ditcheva.
Well, you got to think when you talk about Dakota and the opponent, like those are two MMA fighters. Jake Paul is not a traditional boxer. I mean, I guess he is, but he wasn't like you look at Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has been competing, man, for the entirety of his life. When you have Jake Paul, who's a streamer that's only, kind of migrated to boxing in the last 5 or 10 years, so that's when I talk about the biggest upset because it's not a traditional boxer versus another traditional boxer. It's a YouTuber facing a traditional boxer that's gotten the skills in a very, very fast time. We talk about Dakota Ditcheva and Akaba or whatever her name is. Like these girls have both been training MMA the whole time.
Yeah, but that's my point. Why are the odds? The odds are closer in Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua than Dakota Ditcheva and Inaba.
I think it's a hype train. I think just Jake Paul has a little bit of hype behind him. There's a lot of casuals out there that don't watch boxing that probably don't know Anthony Joshua, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to bet on Jake Paul," because remember, you're not casual. You know a lot. You know probably a lot more than I do in a lot of aspects. But a lot of guys. Here's the thing that people don't understand: lines move, and we talked about this with the Bulgarian situation. Lines move with betting patterns. So right now, let's say if Drake goes out and bets $500,000 on Jake Paul, that line's he's going to move to like plus 200. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of casual fans are betting on Jake Paul because it's plus 700. And I'm sure there's better lines out there, even if you look around a little bit, because all casino lines are different. But that's not a fact. That's a theory. I don't know that I don't know well, it is a fact that the lines do sway with betting ups and downs, but I think a lot of casuals are probably betting on Jake Paul.
Yeah, I think it actually might be moving now. I just double checked and it said now it's down plus 650, which is very interesting. So I wonder if it will continue to move. But yeah, you're probably right. It probably, if nothing had been touched, it'd probably be more like plus 1,000 or plus, who knows, plus 1,200, plus 1,500. It might be the dumbest bet I've ever made in my entire life because when you look at I think Anthony Joshua weighed in at 245 and he had to cut. Wait. Tell me what's the dumbest bet?
The dumbest bet you could ever make is Conor McGregor beating Floyd Mayweather. That would be the dumbest bet you could ever make.
Well, I didn't bet on that. I didn't bet on that. Yeah, that would be worse.
I know a lot of people did though. I know a lot of people at the gym did, and I was just like, man, unless it's staged, because there's a lot of people thought it was a fix because it's such a far gap on both fighters that they thought it would be a fix.
This is so interesting. People talk so much smack about Jake Paul, yet I think the odds are closer. And I think even you're basically alluding to the idea that Jake Paul has a better chance against Anthony Joshua, who's got like 30, but realistically probably like 45 pounds after he put some weight back on after cutting weight. that Jake Paul has a better chance against Anthony Joshua, who's like 45 pounds heavier than him, than Conor did against Floyd Mayweather. And Conor was the bigger fighter there, but obviously the skill differential. So we have to put some respect on Jake Paul's name. It's like people who want to discredit him are actually, without realizing it, he has credit here. There is something to be said. As much as people want to write him off, he's made leaps and bounds in the sport of boxing. He didn't just train for a year like Conor did. I mean, this guy's been training for like 7-8 years, dedicated, like giving it his all, not messing around. I don't even think he's partying. I think all that stuff is behind him. I think he's super focused, and he's made great strides in that time period. So we got to give credit where credit's due. The other thing is Jake Paul took on this insane fight, and maybe he'll come to regret it. I know MMA Guru made a whole video saying like, dude, this is going to be so bad. He's going to get so badly hurt. Like, let's hope nothing terrible happens. But, you know, he may look back and regret taking on this fight and taking on this extraordinarily dangerous opponent. But the credit to Jake is that he's doing this. I think he's doing this to challenge himself, sure. But he's also doing this for the benefit of Netflix. They wanted a big event. They needed somebody massive like this to come in so people would still be engaged. And if anything, this makes it 10 times more massive, in my humble opinion. So he's done that. Man, the guy's a team player. The guy's a businessman. The guy's a hustler. The guy has balls of steel. If you really ask me, do I truly think he's going to win? I do not. And that might be an obvious thing for most people to say, but I want Jake Paul to win, so it's hard for me to say that. But I'm betting on him just in case because I want to see him win. That's where my heart is. I think his journey is amazing, and massive props and massive respect to him. Justin, let me turn it over to you. What are your thoughts, your final thoughts as we lead into the show in just over 6 hours? What's your thoughts on what's going to go down in this fight?
Man, I got to go with you. Jake Paul has grown on me over the last couple of years. He's a big advocate for a fighter pay increase, for insurance, for all that, all the positive thing that fighters want. So he's really grown on me. And regardless of he's beat old guys or MMA fighters or, Mike Tyson, I mean, he's still beat some, he's still in there doing his thing, and he's ranked top 14 in the world right now. I wish him the best, and I hope he pulls it off. I don't think he's going to, but I hope he does.
I mean, the guys that he's beaten haven't been Anderson Silva, but Anderson Silva is still looking great. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., that guy used to be a champion. That guy is good, and he went in there. Yeah, he's a little over the hill, but Jake Paul is so early in his career. Like, come on. I feel like the criticism is so unfair and so lopsided just because people love to hate him. Also, he beat Mike Perry. You say what you will, but like, I'm not stepping in there with Mike Perry. Like if you stepped in there, like that's a tough task, even for you as a professional fighter, right? Mike Perry, bare knuckle boxer, like people are just wanting to give him no credit. So it's like, pick a lane. Either he's the silly YouTuber that you guys think is crazy, or he's actually good and he's good enough where you're like criticizing him for not taking tougher opponents. So people want to discredit him and in the same breath say he's fighting terrible competition. Come on. But now nobody's got anything to say. Nobody. I think Michael Bisping has been one of the most vocal haters of Jake Paul, but even he has to just take a seat now and say like, this is unbelievable. He's gone way to the other side where he's taking on competition that is disproportionately too difficult probably, and we'll see what happens. Rooting for Jake, but it's going to be tough. All right, we got some comments here, by the way. I want to highlight. Pern says, speaking of stupid bets, let's go, Jake. Yeah, you're with me, dog. MGAL4 Production says Dakota beat the F out of Inaba. Yeah, that was an insane fight. Kojo Asante's been commenting a lot in our videos. What's up, Kojo? Appreciate the comments. Hi, thank you so much. MGAL4 Production says Janes is king. Let's go, Janes. I don't understand how this fight can get sanctioned. I was wondering that because the weight differential, I think it's going to be about 40 pounds. Like, it's pretty dangerous. But then, I mean, I guess in heavyweight, theoretically, you could have guys coming in at like 265 fighting somebody who could be like 240, 230. Like I think you could have to weigh in at a minimum of 225. Is that right, Justin, for heavyweight in UFC?
No, for UFC, it's 205 or bigger. If you remember, Brady Couture fought.
For heavyweight?
Yeah, he fought Brady. He weighed like 220. Brock Lesnar was like 265 cutting weight. So, I mean, if you're a heavyweight, you're a heavyweight. It doesn't matter if you're 206 or 207, you're a heavyweight. And to go to answer Pern's question about how it got passed, because there's just so much money involved. That's why it got passed. You got enough money, you can do anything.
92 million is what people say Anthony Joshua is making. Is it above that? Is it below that? I don't know. I still don't understand. Well, I do understand. That was my whole video that a lot of people are watching about why Francis passed it up. Dude, Francis, come on. I know he's your boy and I know you train with him, but clearly it's fine. It's fine to admit that Jake Paul likely would have beat Francis Ngannou. I think that's the only explanation. He would have made 5 times what he made when he fought Anthony Joshua. He made 20 million there. He could have made 92 million, maybe even more. Who knows? But he didn't want to do it. I understand. It is what it is. He doesn't want to go out that way. So everybody's got to make their own choices. Tehran says, I wouldn't bet on Jake Paul. It's too late, dog. It's too late. The bet's in. Joshua is chinny. Yeah, I don't know, though, if Jake's going to be able to touch it. Yo, if he does, the combat sports world is going to be flipped on its head. All the boxing purists, as they call them, are going to lose their minds. Joshua has a glass jaw. I don't know if that's fair to say. Anthony Joshua was 37, but I mean, dude, he looks like a superhero right now. He looks like in amazing shape. So I don't know how to start it on time. Not sure what that means, but what's up, Melis Zulu? Not sure how to pronounce the name. Overhand right, big country, Roy Nelson style. And Joshua's if that happens, I'm gonna lose my mind, dog. I'm going out on the town. MGL4 Productions is going, dude. He's going. He's in Miami. I can't wait. Yo, where are your seats? Did you get crazy seats? Let us know. I'm so jealous. Coda says Mike Tyson used to leap jump to punch. That's right. You know, I've heard other fighters say, by the way, that it's very difficult for the taller fighters sometimes to fight shorter guys. Justin, were you on the shorter side usually for your opponents? And do you think it was difficult for them to catch you and make contact because of your height?
Sometimes. I mean, I feel like I took a lot of damage in fights just because of my range. But I mean, I think it's fighter to fighter. Some people like fighting short guys. Some people like fighting tall guys. I think it's fighter to fighter.
Fair enough. Kojo says, what is Jake Paul's net worth? No idea. And I'm sure it's very hard to decipher the exact amount. By the way, everybody on the stream, thank you so much for joining right now. If you could click that like button, it would really help us out, help us grow the show. We are on a mission to grow the show and bring you guys the best entertainment and combat sports talk possible. MGAL4 Production says Joshua took so much damage in his last fight. I mean, that could be a factor. I don't know. It's going to be so tough, but it'd be so great if Jake Paul can win. All these weeks without UFC, says Tarot. That's why we're talking about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. We're going to be talking about Tony Ferguson fighting the Mechanic a little bit later in the show. And we'll go to a couple more comments, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. You got in the nosebleeds. Hey, at least you're going to be there. You're going to feel the energy. This is a massive, massive event. So that's legend. If you mean the fight, it's set to start at 6.5 hours. Oh, yeah, Danish time. No, wait. I thought, no, I'm talking about the main event. Well, anyways, I just Googled it. It said the main event's going to start in 6 hours, but maybe it's 6.5 hours. So I guess we'll see. Last but not least, Jake Paul's crazy. He don't need to be fighting anyone, let alone Joshua. True. I mean, the guy is, whether he's worth 100 million, 200 million, 50 million even, you don't need to take on this challenge. It's not about money. It's about him wanting to achieve great things and push himself. I have massive respect for Jake Paul. And if you don't, honestly, I don't even know what to say. You truly are a hater. Truly. Don't you think, Justin?
I agree.
Okay. We're going to move on to actually a little bit of UFC news here. Now, I'm going to make a dedicated video, and I'm going to do a real deep dive and a real breakdown of why I think this is going to be true. But I've been thinking about this a lot more. I actually think Ilia is going to vacate. I really do. And I know Justin talked about what's going to happen with the lightweight division. I want to talk about that a little bit today, but I want to tell you why I believe he's going to vacate, at least right now, pending further research. If you think about what's going on, and the story, more details have come out, and I have no idea where the truth sits. I just want to state that up front. Anybody else, like Bryce Mitchell on one side, Andrew Tate on the other, who's claiming to know the reality of the situation, claiming to know that Ilia's wife is lying, or claiming to know that Ilia actually did what he is being alleged, you don't know what you're talking about. No evidence has come out whatsoever. You're jumping to conclusions. Just be objective. Just be normal. Just be real. We don't know yet. So we're going to wait and see what happens. But the reason why I think Ilia is going to vacate ultimately is because there's a couple of factors at play. And Justin, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Right now, I believe he's still married because legally, because he filed for, I think, a civil separation. My understanding, and this is where I need to do the deep dive. So excuse me if I make any mistakes here, but he's filed for civil separation. And I believe that was in October. I don't believe it's been finalized. And I think she's trying to find an attorney now. So the point is, we've got things up in the air. Now, if Ilia takes a fight right now, right? Let's say he took that fight in January. He gets a $10 million purse or whatever people are speculating he would make in that fight. Guess what? That's part of the community property. I assume, again, I don't know how the laws work in Spain, but I assume that's going to be part of community property, meaning she would have a claim to that money. That will continue until the separation or the divorce is finalized. On top of that, there could be claims, even if the separation is finalized. I don't know how Spain law works in Spain, but she may have claims to this money until they get something in writing and get it finalized and severed. So I think that while he wants to spend time with his family, focus on his kids, and probably they're under this crazy media storm right now trying to protect his family, which I totally understand, but I think there's major financial incentives at play that might keep Ilia out way longer than we thought. I mean, look at your boy Sean Strickland, right? He doesn't want to go to Australia because of the taxes, right? They're going to take an extra 15, 20%, whatever it may be. We're talking about 50 right off the cuff that might go to his wife. So Justin, I wanted to turn it over to you as a fighter, as somebody in the UFC, as somebody who has trained alongside all these other fighters that have had massive fights in the UFC. Do you think there's merit to what I'm saying? Do you think that because this is a very messy divorce with criminal allegations being thrown around, that Ilia may very well indeed have to vacate?
Yeah, I mean, and it'd build up too, like I mentioned in the video that I made about Pimblett and Gaethje. Man, they get moved to the undisputed champion, and then we have that resurgence for Ilia back in July if his stuff is handled by then. Because remember, guys, that's still 8 months away. We have a lot of time for that to handle. I think that'd be a great storyline. But yeah, I'm sure he doesn't want to lose any more money than he has to.
Yeah, I'm sure too. And I mean, at this point, he's making such large sums of money. All those percentages are going to be problematic. And this isn't just a divorce. This is a divorce with criminal allegations. This is a divorce where she is alleging battery against her. He already came out with a preemptive statement saying that it's not true, saying that he's been being extorted. That's also a criminal charge. So he's going to be filing that back and forth. Now, he may choose, or they may come to some sort of meeting of the minds, or some agreement that allows him to fight, that allows him to still collect all that money if they're willing to play ball. But like, that's a leverage piece. If he's got an attorney that is going to really try and stick it to Ilia, they're going to play that leverage, and they're going to use that. They're going to say, all right, well, you go do whatever you want until you meet these demands. We're going to hold you hostage legally in terms of those finances and push that out. So this is what I think is going to happen. But now let's talk about what are the implications, because I don't want to get too much into the weeds of this case. We have so little information. And like I said, Bryce Mitchell jumping the gun, calling Ilia all sorts of names is so premature and is just so illogical. So I don't want to go down that road. But let's talk about the lightweight division. Let's say he doesn't vacate before January 24th. So we still have the interim title fight. Eventually, the winner of that will get promoted up. Justin, a lot of people have been upset that Arman Tsarukyan sort of got passed over. But with Ilia being forced to vacate, this might actually be a great thing for Arman, because we'll have the fighter who's going to be there to fight next. It's going to be Arman Tsarukyan. So let me ask you this. How excited would you be, assuming Patty wins, for a Patty versus Arman fight as Patty's first title defense if he becomes undisputed champ?
Man, that'd be crazy. Arman, he's been waiting there in the weeds, but you have to think people often forget Arman had his chance. All right. He blundered his chance. All right. He didn't show up. He missed weight. He hurt his back, whatever the story is. He had his chance. Everyone's like, oh, he should get the next chance right away. It's like, I see why the UFC's, doing what they're doing with him and why they're not giving him an immediate shot. He has a chance, man. There are so many fighters in the wind, and then they got to look at their company as an entertainment brand. Do you want to see Arman Tsarukyan as a champion, or do you want to see Patty Pimblett as a champion? I think Patty, it sells more numbers. He's going to have bigger pay-per-views. He's going to have better press conferences. And, there's a lot of haters that don't like Patty. I just think there's more value in Patty. Do I think he's a better fighter than Arman? No, but I think there's more value for the company in Patty than Arman.
Okay, wait, talk this out a little bit. So let's say Ilia, what's it called? Sorry. Ilia sits out. He has to vacate. He has to deal with all these personal matters until he can return. Now, let's say Patty beats Gaethje. So are you saying that you think they might not even give Arman the first time? I think people will lose their minds if they do that. But you're saying you think that they won't even give Arman Tsarukyan the first crack at the title? And if so, who do you think they'll give the first crack at the title as with Patty as champion?
No, I think they will. I think they will, but I think that's why they're putting him in the weeds right now. Why they're doing Gaethje and Patty, just because there's more value in Patty than there is Arman. I mean, I really don't care to watch Arman fight. I don't hate the guy. I'm not drawn to him. Patty, on the other hand, he's going to have explosive press conferences. He's going to be running his mouth the whole time, selling the fight. I just don't get that excited to watch Arman fight.
Okay, I'm gonna have to encourage you to watch some of Arman's press conferences. Or his interviews. I think you'll change your mind when you listen to him talk, because he may not seem like an interesting guy, but he actually is cold as ice. He's so matter of fact when he talks about wanting to fight Patty. He's like, sometimes I held down, I tried to go for submissions, but If I fight Patty, man, no submissions. It's all elbows to the face. I want to break his face in every which way. It's going to be so beautiful, so much. Like, he talks like that, like just an ice cold killer. He's actually really, really fun. And also the fact that he hates Patty so much, and I think Patty hates Arman, I think it's going to be an amazing buildup. So that fight, I think, would be pretty sweet. But right now, I think I agree with you that the UFC is trying to seize the opportunity to give Patty the chance to be a champion, to be a superstar. Because even if he loses it eventually, fine, but they can at least build him up to that level, and then his brand will carry that weight. Even if he can't make it back to the top, it'll carry that weight throughout. You kind of look at something similar with Sean O'Malley, right? Sean O'Malley right now is not at the top, but that jump to the top, that jump to become a champion, even if he only had one title defense, he's a champ now. And as big of a star as he was before, he's even bigger. And I think that improves his brand, and people always want to see him and tune in for his fights. Yeah, also he's very exciting. He's awesome. But, that's what I think. And I basically, I'm in agreement with you. But I think it's kind of cool if Ilia does step away. Hate that he's going through what he's going through. But I think it's kind of cool from the fan perspective of the other potential fights that are possible. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. All right, we're going to go through some comments here. Pern says, it says 5:15 in Denmark is when the fights around 5:15 a.m. Dude, that sucks for Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. Andy Ruiz Jr. is 6'2". I'm not sure who you're what
Andy
that
Ruiz knocked out Anthony Joshua.
Oh, well, Jake Paul's not 6'2". I think he's 5'11" or 6 foot. I don't know what he's listed at, but I think he's only like 5'11" or 6 foot. But all right. Legend. I think Andy Ruiz is a portly guy too, if I remember correctly. Mgal says Topuria is the most destructive force in the UFC. Come on, dog. Hamzat or Islam. I think I was listening to Tim Welch earlier today, right before the show, and dude, I so agree with him. And I want to know if you agree, Justin. He said that Islam would absolutely destroy Topuria if Topuria tried to go up to welterweight, especially because of his wider boxing stance. He said Ilia would have no chance against Islam. That's kind of what I've been feeling and what I've been saying from the get-go. Do you agree with that?
I don't want to say he has no chance, but I mean, Islam is Islam. He's going to be so much bigger. People are like, oh, well, Topuria, he goes up to 200 pounds, but still his frame isn't that big. When you look at Islam has a big frame. You look big at 170. I think Islam would give Ilia problems in every way.
I would bet Ilia in real life is like 5'5". I know he's listed at like 5'8" or 5'7". I would not be, dude. He's so much smaller than Islam. I think he would have like a 5-inch, maybe 4 or 5 inch height difference. But that's my thoughts. We'll never know for sure. Ooh, MGAL4 Production says Topuria KO Charles. That's true. That was Charles. This is not happening to Islam. It's not happening. I was there for that fight, by the way. That was the craziest knockout. Topuria should box, more money. Oh, I don't want to see Topuria box. He's going to lose. He's going to fight. If he tries to fight top level competition, he will lose. If he wants to box another MMA fighter, fine. But what's that one dude's name? Ryan Garcia. He was just saying like, dude, I'll knock him out. I guarantee you Ryan Garcia would destroy Topuria in boxing. There's too many modifications and adjustments that need to be made in too short of time for Topuria to be a serious threat, unless he took like 4 years off or something, kind of like what Jake Paul's doing to really train his body and his mind and all that muscle memory. No way. Tehran says Topuria probably comes back in November or December. That is what I think too. I think even, who knows? But yes, Tehran, I'm right on the same page with you. They probably do Patty versus Holloway. Oh, wait. You think? Wait a minute. Tehran says Arman won't even be given a shot at Patty. You think so? Dude, I think the fans will lose their minds if that happens. Arman is already paid. He didn't get he had to weigh in as a backup. He fought Dan Hooker. He got passed over for this shot, which I don't even think had to do with punishing Arman. They got to give it to Arman at this point. I think there'll be literally an uprising if they don't. Tehran says they probably do. Yeah. And then Western says Jake is 6'1". Yeah, that's what it's listed as. But listen to MMA Guru and a lot of other folks talk about his height. They all say they really think he's 5'11". I don't know. I mean, maybe it's accurate, but that's what they've been saying. And, I see it. Pern says your soul leaves your body if Pereira head kicks you. That is true. All right, let's move on to the next topic. I know Justin's got to run at 2 p.m. Yo, Justin, guess who's coming back to boxing tomorrow? Yes,
I saw that. He's on the what's his name's card? Andrew Tate.
Yeah, Andrew Tate's card. Give us your thoughts. What do you think? Tony Ferguson is fighting the mechanic who got obliterated by Dylan Dennis. Take it away.
He got obliterated by Dylan Dennis. Well, I mean, it sounds like that Misfits is trying to get Tony another win, trying to get the momentum. It's good for the sport when Tony wins. Tony has a great following, great fan base, and his fans get excited for him, win or lose. But to keep him winning, I think it's positive for the company.
I think it's massive for the company too. And literally I don't think there's one single person that is rooting against Tony. Tony is the ultimate, just like everybody wants Tony Ferguson to win. Nobody wants to see him lose. If you're any sort of MMA fan, you've been following his career whatsoever, unless you're like a family member of the mechanic, that guy. Now, I will say this guy is actually a pretty good boxer. Well, okay. Pretty good. That may be an exaggeration, but he boxes. That's what his bread and butter is. He lost to Dylan Dennis because it was an MMA fight. So Dylan Dennis got him into submission, and within like 6 seconds he tapped. So he said that.
MMA fight. It was an MMA fight though.
Yeah, exactly. It was an MMA fight. So he said from the get-go, yo, if you put me in a submission, I'm tapping. He's like, I want you to stand toe-to-toe with me. And if you don't, I'm not risking getting my arm broken or anything. And he did exactly that. He tapped immediately. So that's what happened. I don't know. Mechanics got some crisp striking, but where Tony can come out like a dog is with that mentality, with the fighters, the discipline. He's not going to give up. He's not going to go down. So hopefully in the later rounds, he's going to overwhelm him and smother him, kind of like what he did to Salt Poppy, that other dude, that other YouTuber. So all I can say is we want Tony Ferguson to win. I do agree. It is fun to still have him fighting and competing as long as he wins. Don't want to see him lose. Nobody wants to see him lose. So we shall see. Western says, God, I miss when Tony was on that streak. Dude, he was unstoppable. And then just what? Something just changed after the Justin Gaethje loss.
Yeah, I mean, that just happens sometimes. Sometimes something happens in your head. Your body just doesn't answer the bell anymore. And you go on streaks, man. It's highs, lows, and low lows, or high highs and low lows.
You know, I bet on Gaethje in that fight, and I won like $400.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, I bet. And just because I love Justin Gaethje, but everybody thought Tony Ferguson was going to beat him. And then I was watching the fight. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually going to win. This is crazy. Yeah, Justin Gaethje was such a legend in that fight. And yeah, Pern chimes in. Yes, he loves Tony. Wait, we got a comment from Toronto. I know you guys might not agree, but I would love to see Ferguson versus McGregor in boxing. What do you think, Justin? Do you want to see that?
I would watch it. But
I would watch it.
Would I petition to see it? No.
I would watch it. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't really have a huge interest in seeing. Okay, I'll put it like this: if McGregor's gonna box, that's decent. I don't really know if I have like a huge desire to see McGregor box right now. I'd love to see him go fight MMA one more time just to complete the story, but I don't know. That's my thought. No, Western's right on board with Tehran. He wants to see it. So maybe more people want to see it than we think. Let us know in the comments what you think. All right, real quick. Let's talk Andrew Tate, and then we can let you go if you got to bounce to wrestling.
Yeah, dude.
How do you think he's going to win?
No.
Oh,
man. If you guys have been watching the press conference, I don't know the guy who's fighting, but I mean, the guy's kind of just running into the ground, and I just don't see any realm of possibility of Andrew Tate. He's older. I mean, he looks a little scared. He's intimidated. I just don't see any possibility. I mean, it is Andrew Tate's promotion from what I believe. So, yes, I mean, maybe he feels he can win. So after watching the press conference, I just don't see how he can.
Okay, but you only watch the press conference. Here's the thing. That guy, Chase Demore, he's not really a fighter. He's more of an influence boxer. Like, he's their heavyweight champ. But if you actually watch some of his fight footage, dude, his technique is not very good. He's got good athleticism. He's younger. But I think, obviously, like you said, two things. One, Andrew Tate, he accepted this fight. That should say it all. The guy is not going in there to get embarrassed, to get knocked out. Supposedly he doesn't need the money. You never know how much money really anybody has, but supposedly he doesn't need the money. So why would he go in there and take this fight if there's a reasonable chance that he's going to lose? So, and plus Andrew Tate, he's a 3-time world champion kickboxer. So the guy's got striking skills. He's not that old. He's under 40. I think he's like 37 or 38 or 39.
I think it's 43 or 44.
No. He's not that old. He's not close to me yet. Wait, hold on. Let me double check how old he is. Yeah, he's 39. He's 39. So, he's got some time, and he just turned 39. But I imagine he takes care of himself. I imagine he's training. He's doing the right things. He's probably spending a lot of money to get his team behind him. So I think he's going to come in there and do his dance, do his damage. And that's what I think. But I'm excited to see that. Hey, Kojo asked, how would Tom Aspinall do in boxing? Justin, let me turn over to you with that one. What do you think?
Tough to say. It's hard to judge boxers when they're not boxing. When you have Tom Aspinall, who's this great power puncher finishing fights in the first round. Listen, Tom Aspinall isn't going to go in there and finish all his boxing fights in the first round because of the big gloves. So taking guys like Tom Aspinall in that deep water are really going to tell the tale. I don't really have an opinion because we don't really see Tom go very long and see if his gas tank can hold up.
Tom Aspinall himself said to Tommy Fury that he would not want to fight, or nor does he think he can compete at a high level, at like championship level boxing, which I think is the truth. This is the reality. No matter how big Francis is, Tom Aspinall is, these guys are not boxers, so they're not going to be able to actually. I think what happened with Francis and Tyson Fury was just an absolute fluke for a number of reasons, which I talked about in the video I made yesterday. But I think that will not repeat, and Tom Aspinall knows that. He talked about it, and I think it's totally correct. Now, he does say he thinks it'd be fun to have like freak show fights, like him versus Francis or something in boxing. That would be dope. I'll watch that. Like that would be interesting because somebody's going to get knocked out. Their technique's going to kind of match up, in terms of technique or lack thereof, because they're MMA fighters, best in the world. They're not boxers. So something like that I think would be cool. And yeah, Tom Aspinall, these guys are not going to go in there and have amazing boxing careers unless they retired from the sport of MMA early enough where they could put years of training behind themselves. Then maybe. That's why Jake Paul, I think, is an exception. That's why Jake Paul, I think, can actually do good things in boxing, because say what you will, he started late, but he's not just like going back and forth between sports, kind of doing his thing. He has been training consistently and to a crazy extent, this one sport, this one discipline, and trying to be the best in the world at it. Justin, do you have to bounce, or can you?
Yeah, I do. I got a wrestling tournament in Mesquite, which is about an hour and a half away.
Okay, go do your thing. Good luck for the wrestling tournament. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Justin, for joining. I'm going to keep going.
Appreciate
I got 2 more topics that we're going to talk about, and we will see Justin next time. And thank you guys for all the support for our recent videos. I know Justin had quite a banger today. If you guys hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, but definitely check it out. Actually, shoot, darn it. This topic, I wanted to ask Justin about it. But Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison are slated to fight coming up in January, which is super cool. And by the way, guys, keep the comments coming because I'll have more of a conversation with you guys now that Justin is gone. But they're slated to fight on January 24th, which is a fight that I'm very much looking forward to. Now, on Ariel Helwani's show earlier today, Kayla Harrison was asked about Amanda Nunes when she came into the gym, their relationship. Did they ever train together? And she says, yeah, we sparred one time. And she said as well that Amanda Nunes beat her up because she was new to the sport. She was way newer in her MMA career, and they sparred, and she felt that Amanda Nunes, for the most part, was beating her up. And Ariel kept prodding and pushing, and she kept saying, look, I'm not going to talk about it. This is sparring. We don't talk about it. And then she said something very interesting. She said, yeah, we sparred only for 2 rounds. And he goes, okay. And he goes, how did those rounds go? And she goes, yeah, she beat me up. Obviously, she's the better fighter, but it wasn't scheduled for 2 rounds. She dropped that little nugget. It was not scheduled for 2 rounds. And she's like, why did it end? She's like, I don't know. You'll have to ask her. And I thought this was really, really interesting. Kayla Harrison, a young Kayla Harrison, who still hadn't developed all of her skill set, all of her abilities with the ground and pound, all these other elements that come into mixed martial arts, from transitioning from being a judo Olympian to an MMA fighter. Yet, at some point after 2 rounds of sparring, Amanda Nunes said, okay, no more. I'm not sparring with her anymore. And this is what I wanted to ask Justin, but maybe I'll ask you guys. What do you think that means? Kayla is brimming with confidence. She is like so confident that she's going to destroy Amanda Nunes. Kayla Harrison is my favorite female fighter currently in the UFC. I'm rooting for her. I thought she was going to win regardless, but I'm curious to know what you guys think in terms of what that statement means. Because what I take it to mean, I think, is that Amanda Nunes, even though she knew she had the skill advantage in that fight, that there was something about Kayla Harrison and her power and her speed and her agility and her athleticism and some of the skills that she possessed, that something made her realize, like, I don't want to spar this person. They're going to be dangerous. Maybe we're going to fight in the future. Maybe she thought that she was going to get the better of her in the later rounds. Whatever it was, I don't know what it was, but something made her tap out at that point and say, no more. This girl's too much. And now we have a brand new and way improved fighter in Kayla Harrison now than back then when they sparred like years and years and years ago. So, man, I'm just curious to know what you guys think, but I feel like it's just the biggest vote of confidence in favor of Kayla Harrison to say that she's going to absolutely destroy Amanda Nunes. And I'm here for it. And I'm a fan of Amanda Nunes, but I'm a way bigger fan of Kayla Harrison. I think she's great for the sport. I think she's got a tremendous personality. She's a great role model, and her fight style is so exciting. Especially if we, as we saw, I hate to say it, but in the last fight, Shevchenko wasn't the most friendly fight. Kayla Harrison's not like that. She's going to get on top, get Amanda Nunes to the ground and pound with vicious elbows and devastating strikes. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. So yeah, I'm here 100% for Kayla Harrison to see her just dominate and win. Western says, I think Kayla wins this one. I 100% agree. This one is so tough. Amanda's the best ever, but I don't think we have ever seen anything like Harrison. Agreed. I think that Harrison, in contrast to the best ever, and she even said on Ariel's show today that if she beats Amanda Nunes, she wants to take on Shevchenko at 135. How lit is that? Just the champion killer, the legend killer. I don't know if Shevchenko will actually take that fight. I don't think she will, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe she will if the money's right, but I guess we shall see. Kojo wants to see Clarissa Shields versus Nunes in boxing. Really? But why, dude? Amanda Nunes will obviously get annihilated. Clarissa Shields is an Olympic level boxer. You really like those crossovers. I don't want to see Chris Cyborg in there either, me personally, but it is what it is. Hey, Western, can we block this person that's spamming the chat here? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just not a, what is this? Kayla has Dominic Reyes shaped nose. If Kayla has Dominic Reyes, you think, Kojo, you think Amanda Nunes is gonna beat Kayla Harrison? Is that what you're saying? Oh, thank you, Western. Appreciate it. Let me know. So wait, is that what you're saying? Kojo, are you a big fan of Amanda Nunes? Hey, Tyler Betts is in the mix. Tyler, what's going down? All right, we're moving on to our last topic. Manel Kape. Manel Kape was actually on the Michael Bisping podcast earlier this week, yesterday or 2 days ago. Yo, this dude is a legend. He is bringing much more excitement back to the flyweight division. I got to say, from a trash talking perspective, I definitely want to see him as champ. I definitely want to see him win. I want to see him as champ. Then I want Muhammad Mokaev to come back, have the rematch for flyweight, and see Muhammad Mokaev get crowned. But in the meantime, right, if Mokaev doesn't come back or whatever, Manel Kape, dude, he's so exciting. I like Joshua Van, but come on. Who's more interesting in the champ position, Manel Kape or Van? I think it's Joshua Van. And I think Manel Kape is going to get the job done. I think he's got more experience. He's been at the top. He's totally in tune with the pressure and everything. I mean, obviously, Van had a championship fight. Bright Lights, he was there. He did pretty good, obviously, until we had that fluke accident, that freak injury. But I would wager that Manel Kape is definitely going to get this job done. Plus, the way he talks, he's so confident. He's got more diverse weapons, in my opinion. I think Manel Kape gets it done. Let me know what you guys think. Koja says, I don't think Kayla can take a big, painful punch from Nunes in the face on the nose. Interesting. Why? Tell me more. Why do you feel that way? Are you referencing past fights where she got tagged and she kind of like crumbled or something? Because I don't know. Like, I imagine because Kayla Harrison is so tough. I think she's going to take whatever Amanda Nunes gives her and just keep coming until she can get her on the ground and do what she wants to do. But that's my opinion. I don't know. You may know something more than I do. So I'd love to know if you have some more insights there. And again, guys, if you haven't clicked that like button on the stream, make sure to do that. Also, check out the Francis video that I dropped yesterday. It's up to, let's see, how many views now? It's up to 500 views, which I know isn't a lot, but for our channel, that's pretty solid. So it's doing good. It's getting some good traction, getting some good comments. Let me know your thoughts. My whole contention in the video is that Francis basically just didn't want to fight Jake Paul, and all the excuses and all the weird things that he said in interviews were all just covering up the fact that he didn't want to take that fight because he thought Jake Paul would beat him, and he didn't want to get embarrassed. That's what I think. As I'm looking back at the interviews and kind of compiling the footage and analyzing it, dude, he just didn't want to take it. Especially the nail in the coffin is that we now find out that Anthony Joshua is making $92 million. Who's going to say this is an insult? I don't want to take the fight for $92 million as a prize fighter. Come on. It's one of the biggest paydays of all time. It's crazy. Anybody would take that fight. I think in not anybody in Francis's position at that size already fought Anthony Joshua, already fought Tyson Fury, would clearly take that fight, because the last fight he made $20 million for Anthony Joshua. He's getting 5xing that amount, unless he thought he was going to lose or had a reasonable probability that he was going to lose, where it was just too big, that it didn't outweigh the payday. Pern says, I never know what Francis is thinking. I know what he's thinking. He's just not being honest about it. I know what he's thinking. It's obvious, dude. He did not want to take the fight because he thought he was going to lose. There's no other explanation. He's like, oh, I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. And then I found out Anthony Joshua was fighting. Like, come on. The story is nonsensical. You're not confused. Whoever's helping you or managing you is like, here is the money offer. You will make this much. We need to do this. Like, he saw the money. He saw the offer. And yeah, like what Coach just said is true. That's the reality of the situation. Anyways, watch the video. I break it down. I think it make it pretty obvious and clear as that's what happened. Now, am I begrudging? Am I mad at Francis for doing that? No, it's his choice. He can do whatever he wants. It's just funny how he's spinning the narrative and making it seem like a Jake Paul fight is beneath him, which I think is unfair to Jake Paul. Like, that's not true. It's not reality. You can do what you want. You can turn down the fight. You can say you weren't ready. You need more training. That's fine. But I think it's very disingenuous and a little bit unfair to Jake Paul to say that fight's an insult. Why? Jake Paul's doing the biggest fights on the planet right now. This fight on Netflix may be bigger than Canelo versus Crawford. Maybe. I think the Tyson fight was bigger. So come on, dog. It's crazy. Koja says Ngannou was nervous of boxing after. Yeah, possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And I don't begrudge him for that. He got flatline KO'd badly in front of the whole world. So I understand that. It's just, you don't have to admit that you don't want to take the fight per se because it's scary or you don't want to get embarrassed or whatever. But yeah, you could just say, yeah, the timing wasn't right. I didn't want to take the fight. I wasn't ready. Maybe another time, like something like that, as opposed to putting on this horse and pony show that is just so obviously see-through and BS, Pern says, I agree with that. It's still a ton of money though. And he is not the scared type. Again, scared is the wrong word, but does not want to be embarrassed. That's a likelihood. Also, you have to think about the potential career ramifications. If he has that fight, he's done. He's never boxing again. It doesn't really matter if you get like 92 million and you're in it for the money. No, but I think that, maybe it's the ego thing too. He doesn't want to get embarrassed in the world. Scared is not the right word, but he doesn't want to get embarrassed. It's an ego thing. So that's personally what I think is the situation. And it's the only thing that makes sense because none of his explanations add up to anything. Wester says if Jake wins, nothing will make sense. Well, yeah, exactly. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God, guys, I'm so excited. I can't wait for this fight. So we shall see. So what Pern says, that's what I mean. He does. I don't understand exactly what motivates him. He lost before. Yeah, but it's losing to Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury is different than Jake Paul. It's like all credibility, at least in the short term, will be lost. Now, if Jake Paul beats Anthony Joshua and then fights Francis, now it's a different ballgame because now Jake Paul will be legitimized. So now you lose to Jake Paul, well, fine. So did Anthony Joshua. That doesn't mean I'm terrible or I'm nothing. It's a different ballgame. Tehran, do you really think Francis would have beaten Jake Paul? No, I mean, give me the odds on that. Like, what was the percentage? Because if that's truly the case, then why didn't he take the fight? I don't think he would have beaten him. Dude, Francis is boxing. I rewatched the fight against Anthony Joshua. His boxing is not good. And then now there's tape on him. When Tyson fought him, there was no tape on him. It's not good. It's clunky. He's pairing like he's fighting Muay Thai and he's biting on all the feints. Dude, he doesn't really have great movement for a boxer. He's not a good boxer. I'm sorry. He didn't put in the time or the years of the practice or the training that is necessary to truly transition, in my opinion. Plus, he's been through a ton. He's had some personal tragedies, dude. No, I disagree, Tehran. But hey, I guess we'll never know at this point. Pern says it's not crazy to think Francis can knock anyone out on the. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's puncher's chance, right? Puncher's chance, just like Conor had against Floyd. There's a puncher's chance for sure. Is the fight today? Yeah, no, it's happening. I can't even believe it's happening. Oh my God. Are there any Tommy Fury interviews this week about Jake Paul? Well, he did a video with, there was. He did a video with Tom Aspinall saying, he's like, I beat Jake Paul. How does Jake Paul think he stands a chance against Anthony Joshua? He thinks it's ludicrous. But again, Tommy Fury barely beat Jake Paul, number one. Number two, that was years ago. The rate at which Jake Paul is improving and getting better is exponential. He's got everybody around him. He's dedicated, fully focused, fully training with the best team on the planet that probably money can buy. So I think Jake Paul would annihilate Tommy Fury if they rematch now. So I don't think that's really a relevant point. But yeah, that's what Tommy Fury says. I don't know. Most people think this is going to be absolute destruction. I'm just hoping it's not. That's why I bet on Jake Paul. All right, guys, we're about to wrap up the show. Joshua looked pissed at the. Oh, I gotta watch that. I haven't seen the ceremonial weigh-ins. I watched the face-off after the presser. Paul has improved massively. Okay, guys, let's send out good vibes, good thoughts. Jake Paul, you can do it, my friend. You can do it. You keep proving people wrong. Let's see. You got a shot, dog. You got a shot. Let's see what you can do. 5 p.m. is the start time PST, 8 p.m. EST. Here we go. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua live on Netflix. Once again, if you guys click that like button, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody who's joined along today and with this entire journey. You know who I'm talking about. You guys have been our main support system, our friend group even to talk about MMA, mixed martial arts, boxing in this case, which we love so much and we cherish this community so much. Thank you guys, and we will see you in the next video. Take it easy.